Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and All right, good evening. As you can see, the dais is a bit empty. But I believe we have excuses, so Mary, if you could please do roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem De Silva,
Present.
Councilmember Stefan, excused absence. Councilmember Rayworthy, excused absence. Councilmember Mario Roscoe.
Here.
Mayor Jose Rios.
Here. All right, moving on to the agenda, we're getting to item 4. Comments from the public not on the agenda. Any member of the public may address the council for a period not to exceed 2 minutes on any item not on the agenda. The council will listen to all communications, but will take no action and make no comments. Anyone wishing to speak may come to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Andrew Castillo, Gonzalez resident. We keep hearing there's no money for road repair. That's not entirely true. We're leaving money on the table. California SB1 Gas Tax Fund and Federal Safe Streets and Roads for All grants are available right now. SB1 helps fund eligible road and sidewalk improvements. Safe Streets exist to help cities like Gonzalez make dangerous streets safer. Other cities are competing aggressively for transportation grants. Greenfield is, so should Gonzalez. Mayor, you recently raised the idea of extending the mayor's term from 2 years to 4. That's worth considering because housing projects don't happen overnight. They take years to apply, plan, fund, and build. Long-term commitments matter. The same is true about leadership. We shouldn't discourage younger people from running for council. We need people who are willing to invest in Gonzalez in the long haul. People who will still be in office to see the projects from grant application to groundbreaking to ribbon cutting. We don't need to raise taxes or drain our general fund before pursuing outside funding. The same is true for the fire department. If we don't receive an SB1 or Safe Street grants the first time, we apply again. We revisit, we reapply. Many successful cities don't get funded on their first application. We keep going until they were. So I'm asking the council tonight, direct staff to pursue SB1 and Safe Street grants for road repair and keep applying until Gonzalez is successful. Good comment, didn't fix my sidewalks, grants can, stubborn gets grants, let's fix Rincon Road. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Henry Martinez III. What I just did today for the people, I went to the food bank. I did 3 hours. I did about 6 totes of doing potato bags, bread. We got that all done pretty quick for the people. And I know the food bank is coming here. And I'm going to be there helping out, passing out food for the people and help out this community and everything. And just want to say thank you guys so much. I love this town and keep working hard and keep this town safe and clean. Personally, I've been walking around streets, picking up trash, keep the environment clean. And I've picked up like 3 bags full of trash and we take it to the dump and get it rid of. So we have cleaner streets, cleaner housings. Because I have a lot of people have been asking me, can you help us clean our house? They're like, yes, I would love to help. And that's what I've been doing for the seniors, young people, and the people I know, and families. My great grandma was almost 90 years old. I help her garden. I help her plant. I also help her with businesses. And I've been taking good care of her for a long time. And I'm one of her favorite grandkids. I worked hard. I'm being like my dad, where he worked in the field for more than 18 years when he was a kid. And I feel that when I worked in the food bank. So I love to help out people, passing out food and everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Joanna, do we have any comments via Zoom?
Yes, we have Henry and April.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Martinez, you're on.
How you guys doing today? It was a long day for me. So first thing, I'm gonna use what the council said before. You guys invited the youth to come back and run for council. You have two candidates that are recent high school graduates that are coming for the chair. And it would be sad to see them get beaten out by somebody who encouraged them to come out. You know, it's going to be a wild story, but we're going there. But as with all elections, the dirt slinging has already started, which is unnecessary, and especially for these kids to be running. We don't need to be attacking their parents, who they are, what they do, what they stand for, or any of that. And some of these are coming from some of the council members' friends, families. I can name a few, but I'm pretty sure they already know. So before this gets out of hand, this needs to stop now. Because this is intolerable by any stance. Like I said, I'm happy for new leadership coming in. You know, some of you guys don't want to let go of you guys' power and let the new people take over. This town needs new leadership because you guys on the council have cost this city too much money and had cost everything. You know, we're broke for a reason. It's not because of us. It's because of you guys that sit on the council. You guys should give up those chairs and let the new people come in and run this city and give them a shot. And instead of having to repeat the same stuff over and over, you know, there ain't nothing new changing with you guys staying on those seats. It's going to be the same thing over and over. And it's just annoying that nothing changes.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Joanna, anyone else on Zoom?
Nobody else on Zoom.
Thank you. Mary, any comments via email?
Yes, we received an email from Ted Bear on Monday, August 10th.
Okay.
And it reads as follows. Residents of Gonzales want to support the city, but it does not appear that code enforcement is consistently following up on reported violations. The number of illegal structures, RVs, and fifth wheels being used as living spaces on residential lots is increasingly obvious throughout the city. I have personally reported numerous properties, including several between Gonzales High School and 10th Street, through the city's reporting website. However, I have not received no updates, and many of these conditions remain unresolved. These situations create concerns regarding neighborhood parking, illegal and unpermitted sewer and water connections, lack of trash service, and overall neighborhood impacts. Residents who follow the rules and pay for required services should not be placed at a disadvantage when others appear to operate outside those requirements without consequences. I filed complaint number CR 26-015 on June 24th, and the city's reporting system currently shows no update or action. The city needs to follow up on residents' reports and consistently enforce its codes. If these living arrangements are not permitted, appropriate action should be taken. Otherwise, it creates the perception that residents can add unauthorized living spaces to their properties without consequence. We want to support the city, but the city also needs to support its residents by responding to their concerns and demonstrating that reported violations are being addressed. I respectfully ask the city to review this complaint, improve follow-up on code enforcement reports, and reassure residents that appropriate action is being taken. That's it.
Thank you. Anything else?
No more comments.
No more comments. Okay. So we've asked Zoom, we've taken care of the email, we've got all the public comment. So I'll go ahead and close the public comment period and bring it back for council work on the following items on the agenda. The consent agenda consists of items 5.1 to 5.12. Any member of the council wishing to pull something, you need to say something because I can't hear you. I can't see you. Okay?
We're good.
Yeah?
No, we're good.
All right, then that being the case, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve our consent agenda as presented tonight.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Liz, I will ask you on regular agenda item 6.1 to read that.
I will. Regular agenda. 6.1, resolution number 2026-53, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Gonzales adopting an operating budget for the city for the fiscal year July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027, providing for the appropriations and expenditures of all sums set forth therein. And resolution number SA 2026-03, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Gonzales acting as successor agency for the Gonzales Redevelopment Agency, approving and adopting a successor agency budget for the period between July 1st, 2026 and June 30th, 2027. Staff report.
Mayor, council members, I'm happy to present to you today the proposed budget. I have our consultant, Andy Heath, that is going to be helping us walk through it. He's taken a long look at all of our funds, and we work back and forth to prepare what will be in front of you today. Also in the room is our finance manager, Alex Avalos. And we will go ahead and get started and entertain questions at the end.
Okay,
So, I was waiting for the slide to change, excuse me. We're gonna walk through how the proposed budget was developed. Quickly, we're gonna go through each one of the funds and the general fund and how those appropriations are being allocated. We're also gonna walk through the enterprise funds, the water, sewer, garbage, solar fund. So we'll condense it as much as possible, but we're gonna really give an overview as so you understand where we're at on each one of the funds. And then other fund groups, and then we'll ask for your approval and answer any questions at the end. Excellent. So what happened was we were fortunate enough to get Andy to come in and support us kind of at the end of we continue the budget, so at the end of the fiscal year, to really take a new look at our budget. Mike Howard had been working for us for years, and then prior to that, Renee Mendez also did our budget. So it's always good to have fresh eyes take a look and ask questions, I think. And so it was very helpful to have Andy, who's got over 30 years of financial experience, also come in and kind of look at everything and give us some of his perspective and ideas. And so he'll be offering that up today. We updated anticipated final activity for 25-26 and really got a base to start off with. We coordinated the budgets and requests with all cities, directors and staff to understand what they're proposing for the upcoming year. Reconciled all staffing costs based on appropriate funding sources. So I've spoken to this before, but really looked at where we can squeeze more juice out of the budget, prepared and the proposed budget schedules for every single one of the funds. And then we finally updated the budget narratives and accomplishments and goals and policy considerations for your review, and prepared a final draft of the budget to share with you today for approval. So I'll just go high level, and then Andy's going to take us right into each one of the funds and really break down the numbers for us. So revenues, we are estimating $38 million to come in this next fiscal year. Of that, we've appropriated $37,900,000 or so. So we will be presenting a balanced budget in front of you today. And then the general fund is $8,000,001. Again, that is going to be balanced, and you'll see the breakdown for that. And then I'll have Andy go in through the enterprise funds and all the impact funds and everything else, and give a kind of a more detailed overview of where we're at and how we've come up with the balanced budget for this year. Keeping in mind that we are putting forth a very conservative budget, given that the measure didn't pass that we put on the ballot for support the fire department, and we've had to adjust some things and take from some things and to get where we are at. So, Andy?
Thank you, Carmen. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, for the record, Andy Heath, financial consultant to the city.
I don't hear you on the mic.
Right, musical microphones do. All right, is that better? I
There.
think that's better. All right, we got one. Okay, thank you, Carmen. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, for the record, Andy Heath, financial consultant to the city. As Carmen mentioned, we will be going through the budget tonight. My goal tonight is to kind of give you an idea of what the fiscal picture looks like for your city, particularly in the major funds of the city, which are outlined there in blue, which make up about 76% of your budget. And that would be your general fund and your 4 enterprise funds that you have. So out of the $38 million roughly that we're asking for an appropriation authority or spending authority, you've got just under 29 million in those funds alone, those 5 funds alone. So we'll be going through those funds in earnest. And then you have a lot of other funds that you have in the city that I have grouped together for purposes of presentation. So we'll be going through those funds as a group. Won't spend a whole lot of time on them. Please keep in mind that unlike the general fund, unlike the general fund, all of your other funds in the city can only be used for a certain purpose. The enterprise funds obviously can only be used for specific purposes for which the fees are collected in the enterprise itself, whether it be water, sewer, garbage, or solar. And in the special revenue funds, the fees can only be used for specific purposes in those special revenue funds for things like transportation, police-related purposes, HUD grants, things like that. So nonetheless, if you can go to the next slide, please. From a citywide perspective, still focusing on the citywide budget, out of that $38 million that you have budgeted at the appropriation level citywide, about half of that is in capital projects. So you've got about $19 million in capital projects that are slated for the coming year. You've got some computer upgrades, 911 system, vehicle leases in the general fund. You have 15 million, so the vast majority of that 19 million in capital is for your industrial wastewater plant and the continued upgrades to that. So 15 million is there. There's a lot of money slated for streets in the coming year. Just over $2.2 million is slated for streets. 600,000 of it is coming from RMRA, which is your SB1 fund. And then another 1.65 million, which is half of the grant that is still not finalized yet from what I understand, but half of the grant that is expected from the Transportation Agency of Monterey County that's likely to come in. So we've allocated half of the $3.2 million grant that's coming in for the coming year, for the current year, actually. You have some other capital projects in your assessment district, things like all your assessment districts, slurry seal and street resurfacing in the California Breeze, park improvements, Canyon Creek Park and benefit assessment district, Tot Lot Sound Wall, street resurfacing in Cipriani Estates, and then some more street work and other capital repairs in the Gonzales Industrial Park. So wide array of capital. You got a very robust plan. I hope your engineers and the folks that put your capital together are ready because you've got a lot on tap in the coming year. So next slide, please. This is just a citywide organizational chart. It shows the framework of how your staff is all set up, who reports to who, where your departments are from a citywide perspective. So this is essentially 52 positions in the city. Next slide. And then if we move on to the general fund, so that's a citywide in and of itself. So looking at specifically now your general fund. So what I've done here is I've given you an estimate on where we believe the year just finished about a month ago is likely to end up. And keep in mind that we're still closing that fiscal year out by doing all the accruals and the accounting adjustments that are necessary to properly close that year out, which we expect in the next couple of weeks. And we will be reporting back to the city council likely probably no later than a couple months from now on what that looks like so that you have an idea of where you're at. So 25-26 looks like we're going to add just about $380,000 to reserves. Okay, there were a lot of one-time monies that came in, particularly from your transaction sales taxes in general, for one-time things that a use tax was charged for. So you had some of that come in, and then some other grant revenues. And then there were some transfers in from other funds that were done at the budgeted levels. So those are assumed we're going to continue those and make those happen. But again, we will true all of this up over the next couple of weeks, close it out, and bring this back. So right now, it's looking like about $380,000 will accrue to the bottom line and be added to reserves in the general fund for the year just finished. As Carmen mentioned, we do have a balanced budget for the general fund for 26-27. Revenues are equal essentially to expenditures, 8.139 million. So balanced budget for 26-27. Next slide. This is what your revenue sources look like. So you can see that the majority of your revenue sources accrue from the collections of property taxes and sales tax. The VLF is kind of a property tax. It's the VLF in lieu. It's paid with property tax. And then Measure K and Measure X are obviously transaction sales taxes. So when you add all of those up, it's a little bit more than 50% of all the money that's collected in the general fund. So this is not untypical, what I see in other organizations, and it's really good to have the diversity that you have with your revenue base, meaning you can probably weather a recession a little bit better than others that are more reliant on property tax or sales tax entirely in your city. So next slide. From an expenditure perspective, these are the departments that all of your expenditures in the general fund, the 8.139 million, are allocated for. You can see the majority of this comes from, is actually allocated for police-related expenditures, 44% of your budget, which also is very typical of most full-service cities, 13% in your fire department, and then 14% in your public works department. Or actually, it's non-departmental. Can't tell which one that is. Sure, that's right. Okay, so it's non-departmental, right? So again, this chart is very typical of a typical city, so no surprises here. Next slide. Okay, just some of the takeaways. Again, 26-27 in the general fund, we do have a balanced budget. The revenue side includes nominal budgeted revenue growth for your property taxes and sales tax. Trying to be conservative here, not trying to get way too ahead of the game. Never want to be behind in revenue projections, but we do have nominal growth budgeted. All other revenue sources are budgeted based on trends. So one thing that I did when I put your budget together, you may notice that I have two prior years. I have 25-26, a third year, and then I have the budget for 26-27 in all of the schedules in your budget. So all of the line items in the general fund were looked at, particularly the revenues for this, and then for your recreation type fees, for your development type fees, and those sorts of things. Just look at trends, and again, try to be conservative in estimating what those revenues might be for the coming year. We also budgeted just under $800,000 in ongoing transfers from other funds, which would include transfers from the garbage fund, the assessment district funds for administrative related costs, and also your supplemental law enforcement and Prop 172, which are specifically used for police that are collected in another fund, and we'll go through that in just a minute. But then they're transferred to the general fund where all of your police-related costs are incurred. So that transfer does happen as well. On the expenditure side, you have fully loaded salaries. So again, even though you have 4 vacant positions right now, we're assuming fully loaded salaries for the entirety of the year for all positions. So to the extent you don't fill those positions, you incur what's called vacancy savings. And that number is part of what drops ultimately to the bottom line, which candidly makes up part of the $388,000 that we're projecting for 25-26, the year just finished. So we'll come back to that when we true all that up. 71% of all your expenditures in the general fund are related to salary costs. And again, that's completely in line with other cities. We do have a labor placeholder built in for the labor negotiations that are likely to occur and ultimately be approved in the future. So there's a $120,000 placeholder built into the general fund for that. You have a programmed use of Measure K and Measure X funds. That is, we have something on that to show you. And then Measure X funding is used for your community center debt service, which is about just under $500,000 for the coming year. and other programs and services in the general fund. For your Measure K fund, which is your Gonzalez Quality of Life Temporary Tax Measure, this is a general purpose 0.5% additional sales tax that comes in. There's an array of things that Measure K funds are used for, particularly in your recreation area for youth programs, adult and senior programs, and other recreational opportunities. You're also using Measure K in large part for your fire department in this year. The current allocation is about $810,000, and depending on ultimately how Measure K is collected throughout the year, we will be coming back to the city council to the extent anything more might be collected, so that the council again and the Measure K subcommittee to actually determine how those funds might be allocated in the future. This tax is set to sunset in 2044, so that's about 18 years from now. So you've got plenty of time. Next slide. Here is your specific Measure K allocation that was previously approved. So you can see your pool debt services paid for out of Measure K. A lot of recreation programs that I talked about, the aquatics programming, 10,000, and then again, the fire department, more than 50% of all the Measure K money, $480,000 is allocated towards the fire department. Next slide. For Measure X, which is the other side of the equation, same amount of money is expected to come in. It's a source of funding for the new community center. So all of your community center costs ultimately will be allocated using or funded using Measure X as a major funding source. So the current revenue, again, like Measure K, about $810,000. The debt service and then other programming costs are also built in from Measure X to cover the community center costs. Next slide. Okay, so that's it pretty much for the general fund. General fund real quick. So moving on to your enterprise funds. So this is your water fund. And you can see here that I am showing, like I showed for the general fund, what is likely to transpire for 25-26, about 3.3 million in revenue, offset by 1.8 million in expenditures. So you're going to drop about $1.5 million to fund balance. And that happens again for 26-27 as budgeted. So one might ask, that we're putting a lot of money into reserves in your water fund, but this is very typical of enterprise funds where depending on the season, depending on the needs, depending on what your permit requirements are from the State Water Resource Control Board, depending on the age of your infrastructure that you use to process water or to process sewage, you have a significant amount of capital that's always coming down the pipe. So you always want to have reserves set aside for that capital, which is exactly why you see a good portion of the rates that you collect being shoved aside in reserves just for that purpose. So for the coming year, there are no capital projects slated for the water fund, but that doesn't mean that they're not coming in the future, and I'm sure your public works director would agree with that. In the water fund, you do have a 7% rate increase programmed that's built into the revenue side of the equation. This is consistent with the, I think, the fourth year of your Prop 218 hearing that was previously conducted a few years ago. Your expenditures are higher than those expected for 25-26 by about $77,000 due to increased utilities costs, which is typical, contractual services, and also liability insurance. Again, no capital is budgeted. And at the end of this year, assuming this budget as forecasted comes to fruition, you will have just over $9 million in reserves in the water fund, which is a prudent amount, which also includes $1.2 million change in impact fees. So next slide. In your sewer enterprise fund, similar story. Revenues and expenditures actually are pretty close to each other. So in 25-26, we'll add about $1.3 million back to fund balance. But as you know, you are undertaking a major project in your sewer, in your sewer fund for the industrial sewer plant. There is a lot of money, about $15 million that's actually budgeted in the coming year that is being drawn down from a state resource loan. Yeah, okay. So that money's there, but ultimately, once that's done, you're going to have a very large debt service payment that you're going to be responsible for a number of years to pay that back. So having those reserves is going to be very, very necessary to be able to pay that back. Like the water fund, the sewer fund does have a programmed increase of 6% for the coming year. Expenditures are higher by about $5.2 million from year to year, mainly due to capital. And again, you do have $15 million allocated for the coming year for that capital project. So a lot going on in your sewer fund coming year. Next slide. Garbage solid waste fund. So this fund accounts for all of the activity associated with the pickup of your garbage and the contracts that go with that. So the city does bill all the residents a fee that's on the revenue side. So all of that's coming in for various types of fees that come in for garbage, whether it be a tipping fee, just a water or not a water, a garbage use fee, and other types of fees that come in. And then on the other side of that equation, you actually do have a contractor that you contract with for garbage pickup. And then you also contract, I believe, with the landfill to pay fees to them as well. All of that is built into this enterprise fund. There is a transfer out to the general fund for costs that are incurred in the general fund and the residual amounts that are left over in the solid waste fund for $375,000. This is consistent with the way this fund has always done business, so that is built in. There are no capital expenditures budgeted in the solid waste fund for the coming year. And at the end of the day, like in pretty much every year that I've looked at, the solid waste fund has very minimal reserves because you just operate from year to year, charging the rates and then ultimately paying the contracts and giving the balance to the general fund for this fund. So next slide. This is your solar energy enterprise fund. So this fund is a unique fund in that basically, I think after this fiscal year, 26-27, this fund will go away, okay, because this debt will be paid off and you won't need to have this anymore. So this receives revenues from transfers in from other funds, namely the general fund, the water fund, and the sewer fund, basically to just pay the debt service off for the coming year. So these expenditures, you know what, I'm noticing. For just a sec. So I didn't change those numbers in the blue box, and I apologize for that. But the numbers are available in your packet. But essentially, revenues equal expenditures. So it's just a transfer in that's coming in from those funds to pay the debt service. The expenditures, which only include the debt service basically, and a trustee fee, $278,403. They will end after 26-27. This loan will be paid off. This debt will be paid off. So in 26, after this year, you won't see this fund anymore. So it will go away. Next slide. Okay, so those are your enterprise funds. So now I'm going to move on to the fund groups. Okay, so I've grouped these into like 6 groups, I believe. So I'll go through this pretty quickly. These are your special revenue funds that deal specifically with transportation. So in this fund, you have your streets fund, you have your SB1 RMRA fund, and you have your TAMC Measure X fund. So you can see what the revenues and expenditures are expected to be. And in these funds combined, which can only be used for transportation-related purposes. That's why they're grouped here. You have an appropriation budget of right around $3 million, of which $2.25 million in capital is budgeted. All of this is for streets projects in this fund. Most are grant funded by the Transportation Agency for Monterey County grant that I told you about before, the $1.65 million, which is awaiting final approval. And the balance of them are funded by RMRA money and or gas tax money and those sorts of things. So that is what's going on in this fund in terms of a capital perspective. You will still have at the end of this day, assuming you spend the $3 million, the $3 million, and bring in what we anticipate bringing in, you'll still have about $714,000 for street-related purposes in the future. So it's a prudent amount, and to move forward with that. So next slide. These are your special revenue funds related to police-related budget. So one thing we'll likely do at the end of this year, and we'll go through this year determining whether or not it makes sense to do this, but essentially all of the money that comes into these funds is transferred to the general fund. And in most cities, what you see is that the SLEES money, supplemental law enforcement money, which is a COPS grant that is paid annually to pretty much every city in the state, with the growth associated with that. So it's right around $200,000 in change that comes in every year. In addition to the Prop 172 funding, which is a portion of the sales tax that is paid to the county and then ultimately allocated to the cities, specifically for safety, and you use it for your law enforcement, but it can also be used for fire. Those two funding sources are typically budgeted in the general fund of most cities, recognizing that pretty much all of police and fire-related charges are accounted for in your general fund, because that's just where they are. So you have two special funds that bring these in, and then based on history, all of this money is transferred out back over to the general fund. So all this budget is doing, all these two budgets are doing is receiving those monies and then transferring them back out, and that transfer is coming into the general fund. So one thing we're going to research this year, and make sure that, it makes sense to do this and that it's super transparent about the way we do it, is in the future, you may just see this as part of the general fund, and no longer budgeted in two funds that need separate accounting, separate budget schedules, and separate everything else. So just because of the way you've done business with these funds in the past. So that's all these funds are being used for. Next slide. And then you have other fund groups, and these are your impact fee funds. So impact fees, consistent with AB 1600, may only be used for nexus-based development-related improvements based on development in your town. So at some point in time in the past, there was a report that was put together, a nexus-based report that basically delineated how each one of these fees can be used. And you can see there's probably, I think there's 9 of them here that you've collected for in the past. The only revenues, the reason you see revenues budgeted there is because that is the anticipated interest earnings that is likely to accrue based on the existing balances in these funds. So that's the budgeted revenue, but there are no budgeted expenditures. Okay, so don't really know what these funds might be able to be used for in the future. We talked about this today. We are actually going to try to find those documents to determine whether or not these funds can be used for something that might currently be budgeted in another fund, but it may make sense to use these funds. So we'll be looking into this, and then we'll also be looking into the reporting requirements that you have for AB 1600 to make sure that everything is up to speed. But right now, with the interest earnings that is likely to be earned in fiscal 26-27, there's a little over $800,000 in these funds. So you can see it's just, it's a nice chunk of change that if you can find an eligible use, you definitely want to do that. So next slide. These are the other fund groups. So this is special revenue funds associated with CDBG and home. The majority of these funds are basically grants that have been received in the past and then loaned out to folks for either small business needs, for housing rehabilitation needs, those sorts of things, and then are paid back. As those loans are paid back, it becomes program income, and you can ultimately, consistent with a reuse plan, reloan it back out. So it can only reloan it back out. Right now, you have 3 of these funds. There's one fund here that is the CDBG Urban County grant that has money in it. We pretty much 95% determined today that money belongs in your community center fund, so Fund 112. So we're likely going to move that with the current fiscal year. And when we come back to you in no later than a couple of months with the fiscal 25-26 true up, if that's going to change, we will let you know that we move that money. But we want to make sure that we can do it. All the ducks are in a row and they're pointing that way right now. Haven't seen anything that suggests otherwise, but that grant definitely was allocated for use for your community center. And I think that money belongs over there. So
How much is that right now?
sorry,
How much is in that fund?
there's 360,000 and change, I believe, and 370,000 and change.
Okay,
in that.
thank you.
So, yeah, that needs to be moved over. In your other 2 funds, Community Development Fund and your Business Loan Grant Funds, those are basically loan funds. So all that appropriation is for 200,000, 85,000 out of the Community Development, and then 115,000 out of the Business Loan Grant Fund, These are just estimates, okay? So you have no loans in process right now. This just gives you the authority, the appropriation authority to go out and provide those loans to the extent you can. But sometimes these loans are really hard to give out because the requirements are really difficult to meet. So nonetheless, you do have that appropriation authority, which may or may not happen. Okay, next slide. And these are your other fund groups. These are other special revenue funds that I really couldn't find a particular category to put them in. So the funds I want to call out here are your community center fund. So more than likely, on that previous slide, you saw the amount of money, the 300,000, 400,000 and change for the CDBG fund that can likely accrue to the community center fund. That will increase that fund balance by the amount that will be transferred. Community center fund ultimately will house the Measure X money that is transferred from the general fund into the community center fund to cover the debt service and to also cover any future programming costs associated with the community center. So that fund is a necessary fund. It should be, close to a zero balance, but for the amount that's left in there and usable for other things in the community center. The other fund I want to call out is you have Fund 421, which is your infrastructure improvement fund. Historically, that fund has had a negative balance going back as far as we can see. Okay, so even in the audits, I think we went back as far as 2021 in looking at that. So we need to do a little bit more research on that, and we're in the process of doing that to determine ultimately what the disposition of this fund is, what it was used for, and how it might be offset by other funding sources that might be available to eliminate that negative, that deficit fund balance, because don't want to have that on the books. And then also your EIFD, your Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District, the district itself, and then your housing district are also in this fund group. And at the end of the day, you do have about just over $200,000 appropriated out of those funds. But there is significant money coming into those funds now from property taxes. So this is going to be an ongoing thing. And at the end of the day, assuming you spend the $200,000 that's appropriated, you will still have over $900,000 remaining in those two funds combined for future purposes. So you're building up a good bank there for future purposes in that EIFD area. So next slide. And these are your special assessment district funds. So this just combines all 8 of your active operating funds for your special assessment district, which include California Breeze, your Canyon Creek Park, Cipriani Estates, and your Gonzales Industrial Park. So these budgets are set up consistent with the engineer's reports that your council approved for all of these districts previously. So there's no real science to this. Whatever was in those engineers' reports is exactly what's in the budget that you see before you, from the assessments collections to the interest that's estimated to be earned in these funds based on their balances to the expenditures, whether those expenditures include operating expenditures and or capital expenditures. At the one of these funds, I just want to call out there, which is the California Breeze Park Maintenance Fund. It does not have an escalator in it, a fee escalator built into it. So it is still incurring expenditures to provide the services out there, but the revenues are about $20,000 to $25,000 too low to cover it. So at the end of the day, assuming this budget comes to fruition, you will have about a $360,000 deficit balance in that fund. So just wanted to call that out for your council. Next slide. And then finally, these are your successor agency funds, and these are pretty simple funds. At the end of the day, these funds will balance everything out. You can only get into or request from the state of California through the county the amount needed to satisfy your existing recognized obligations, is what they're called, from your former redevelopment agency. All that's on here pretty much is debt, and the debt service for your tax allocation bonds that were previously issued a long time ago. So as this debt is all paid off, these funds will go away. This is just basically conduit funds for the payment of that debt service. And next slide. And that is pretty much the fiscal meat of the budget. I know I went through that really fast. You might have some questions, but the goal was to get to this slide so I can turn it back over to Carmen.
There's going to be a test at the end too, so be ready. As you saw, there's some funds where we have pretty healthy reserves and water, et cetera. But general fund is really where it's tight, and that's really our general use funds, right? That hold 71% of staff, and then everything else that isn't covered by water, sewer assessment fees. Because of that, we still have to figure out how to generate more funds to actually be able to cover those essential needs. So in the future, we'll be looking at another sales tax potentially, another assessment district review. Again, you heard one of the assessment districts is just, there's no way to get out of the underwater there. And even though we have reduced maintenance and are really only doing what is needed, we're just incurring more costs with even those emergency needs, whatever they are. If it's go cut a branch because, it's going to fall on somebody or a trip hazard, those things are still adding up for that district. So we need to really look at that again. And then we're always looking at new economic development opportunities. We're in constant conversations. Community development is in constant conversations with potential newcomers to town to see what we can do and have new revenue streams that can contribute to our funds and allow us to do more. And then obviously the completion of the wastewater treatment facility will also potentially allow us to expand some businesses in the industrial park. I've already received some interest from folks, and I know that they're going to be knocking at the door from some of the conversations we've had where there is interest in some of them expanding. And then the new housing development also has opportunities for new revenue generating ideas and streams. So hoping that those begin to materialize in the next year. Next slide, please. I think you went to, oh, there you go. So items on the horizon, again, the budget in front of you presents a balanced budget. The city will need to continue to look for revenue sources to offset rising costs, as well as plan for much needed infrastructure maintenance. We are happy to report, and I will not get tired of saying that we are very happy to report that we're likely to get these $3 million from TAMC to do some major repairs in our community. And so we will continue to look for grants and opportunities of that sort that are going to allow us to finally take care of some of our outdated infrastructure. But we got to keep looking. We got to keep looking for grants where ever possible, and staff is doing that all the time. The city shall continue to seek sources of funds for capital growth. Again, that's kind of the same thing I just touched on. Continue to seek new revenue streams, partnerships, collaborations. That's really where I think you get the biggest bang for your buck. And so we've got folks ready and willing to do that. And then continue to contain costs where possible. It's critical, again, that we get new revenue sources coming in, but also that we continue looking at efficiencies and just I keep saying cutting the fat. And want to give a shout out to staff because they've really been helpful in looking at ensuring that we are doing that in-house and going after funds that we can collect. We don't have a collections agency. We are the collections agency, but really being on top of that has also helped make improvements in-house and bring in some revenue that was left out hanging. And so I want to give kudos to the finance department and especially Celia Ferme and Alejandrina Ponce as well for really getting on top of that on some of those items that had been left standing for a while. Next slide. So today, before you is to consider the adoption of Resolution 2026-53 and Successor Agency 2026-03, accepting and approving the 2026-2027 fiscal year proposed budget. We'll ask you to authorize the city manager to realign the budget for fiscal year 2026-2027 to reflect the estimated actual revenues and expenditures for 25 and 26 fiscal year. Affirm the City of Gonzales reserve fund balance for all funds and establish the proposition for general fund appropriation limitations for fiscal year 26 and 27. That was our ask for your action tonight. Next slide. And then in conclusion, on behalf of the staff, we express our gratitude for the continued support of the city council as we continue to strive to provide excellent service while keeping our expenditures in line with our revenues. While we do have some challenges, we believe we can continue to overcome them with careful planning and exercising fiscal responsibility. So we'll go ahead and open it up for your questions and questions from the public. And then we'll ask you to take the action.
Go ahead and ask council first if there's any questions from staff before I open it up to the public.
I do.
You do? Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
I have just a couple. With regards to the enterprise funds, I know at the end of each slide, you had some set aside amounts. Most of them had at the very last. Yeah, reserves. Okay, so, and especially with regards to the water reserve, I guess my general question with those enterprise funds, are those funds able to be used as we move forward with the development of the Vista Lucia in order to get things started, or is that a separate discussion altogether?
The slide that was shown with the empty revenues and the impact funds, that's absolutely the receiving spot for the impact fees that would come with new residential development in that
Okay.
neighborhood. So we have the financial structure waiting to go.
So that's a separate, those are separate line items. That would have nothing to do with what we're seeing tonight.
So in your sewer fund, if you go back, I think 2 slides, in your.
Okay.
Sheet, walk.
Keep going. Well, the sewer funds I thought were with regards to
Right.
this wastewater
In
treatment.
your water enterprise fund, you do have impact fees. So there is a set aside amount
Okay,
in that $9.2 million that is 1.273 of that is impact fees, which can be used for development related purposes.
Okay.
Yeah. But in
And
your sewer fund, because you are doing
the
the
expansion.
plant,
Yeah.
all the impact fees are used first.
Okay,
Yeah, you want to use all those first. Get that
Got
out
it.
of the way because they're hard to spend sometimes.
thank you.
And
And then.
If I can add, yeah, they can only be used, obviously it's clear, but to
Right.
you, but to the for the public members, for sewer or water projects, yeah.
Understood. And I mean, I get that part, and I also get the part that the assessment districts are also within that district. In other words, you can't rob from Peter to pay Paul over here.
We tried, right?
Okay. Or whoever. And then my other question would be with regards to opportunities to bring in new businesses. Has there been any thought, I know when we did the general plan review 15, 20 years ago, I can't remember, Scott and I were on that committee. The Diorigo property that borders 101 between California Breeze and Gloria Road, that's within the city limits, is that correct? Okay. At that time, I remember seeing something about light industrial, but I thought was across the road on the other side, on the south side of Gloria Road. Has there been any consideration to bring light industrial to that area? Because it seems as though development of that area has been talked about, but nothing has really moved along.
Yeah, thank you very much. There was a good expectation for industrial in the Puente del Monte specific plan area along Gloria Road. Yet the Rianda project that came forward and you approved and it added 44 acres to the city there on Gloria is zoned industrial. And we do expect industrial development to come there once we have power from PG&E and then the finances. So that's in the neighborhood.
But that's a specific project, right? That's not bringing in, let's just say, for all intents, like a truck stop. A place that people coming on 101 could get off the freeway and get services done, right? Lighter industrial, because I believe that project you're talking about on the Rianda is a specific need project.
Yeah, I do recognize, and I've talked with the Rianda family representatives, that there's a good chunk of highway commercial red zone right down there in Gloria and the Tavernetti House. but they're very happy farming the property at this
I
point.
understand that.
Yeah, but it does have the capacity for such development, for highway commercial serving, which could include a truck stop and those kind of revenue generating things.
And I just threw that out there, a truck stop or a furniture store or an appliance store. We don't have those types of businesses in the valley right now. They're very limited.
So we're ready in that you don't need a zone change or a general plan amendment if someone wanted to propose that development there.
Within that general
That's
area,
correct.
that
If you had
intersection.
property owner and you had the commercial interest aligned, city could certainly take that baton and be as facilitative as we could.
Okay, thank you.
And we are seeking out those types of conversations
Okay.
and opportunities currently, so.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, Ms. Orozco.
I just have a quick question, Carmen, on our business revolving loan fund. Is that continuously providing funds to business owners on a revolving basis, or was that just a one-time funding for businesses?
We haven't done any in recent years. We are waiting on principals to be paid back so that we get a good chunk, to then have enough to go back out. Because as you heard, we're only able to use those funds for that purpose. But we have to have a good amount of money in there to be able to do that. And happy to report that for the most part, people are paying their loans
current?
back. And
Oh, good.
so that's helping us kind of reestablish a bigger pot and be able to do something. Same with the potential housing loans as well. So we won't have a lot, but we may have a little bit of fun when we're ready to go with Vista Lucia.
Good. Thank you.
All right, there's nothing else from council, and I'll go ahead and open this up to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this agenda item may do so at this time. Again, you are limited to 2 minutes. Nobody's in here? Okay. Joanna, do we have anyone via Zoom?
We do. We have Henry and April.
Mr. Martinez, you're up.
All right. A few years back, we had Walmart looking into the town. We also had AMPM. We also had KFC looking into town. I don't know why those projects never came. You know, those you might want to relook at. Maybe they might consider coming back or you know, coming into town. You know, like you said, we need more businesses, and that's what we're lacking. We're lacking anything big for people to stop by and do things in our town. My other thing was, I saw you guys' graph. The budget for the police department is 44%, which is high compared to other cities. We're talking other cities were anywhere from 26, 33, 23, you know, around there. So why are we budgeting so much for that when the fire department is only getting 13%? That should be broken even across the board so that they get the stuff that we need. Because it kind of seems like we have more emergency issues than we do fire. If you really look at the police logs that are coming out from the police station, we don't need to have so many officers on staff. I mean, maybe so down the line when we expand. And on the subject of expanding, we are paying more for water, sewage, and trash. And with the increases that come yearly, those funds should not go towards anything of the newer projects. This is why we have environmental impact fees, so they can pay their dues and the expansions to those sides of town. You know, we shouldn't be wasting money that we paid for already for upgrading so they can move in. You know, they need to pay. It's, you know, their dues.
Is that it, Mr. Martinez? I'll assume it is. Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Anyone else, Joanna?
No one else on Zoom.
Okay. Mary, do we have any comments via email?
There are no
Okay. I'll bring it back to council, and I'll either entertain a motion for approval or disapproval. I'm sitting here waiting.
Clarification from our council, do we have to make two separate motions or?
You should actually take those, yes, in two separate motions, one from the city council and then one from the successor.
Thank you. Then I will move to approve resolution number 2026-53 as I read previously and as presented tonight.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number SA 2026-03 as presented this evening.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ooh, that was quick. All right, I believe it's 7.1, committee reports from the council. First one up is League of Cities. I have nothing to report. Next is AMBAG, and Mr. Funk is not here today. Next is MST, and Ms. Orozco, you have not had an opportunity to attend. Is that correct?
Right. Well, I won't be meeting until September.
Until September.
Meeting, right.
Okay. We'll move on to oral communications. Liz, would you like to start the oral communications?
Sure, I would love to. I would like to begin by commending our Gonzales Youth Council. They continue to amaze me. These young people are amazing, and they attended the Board of Supervisors meeting last Tuesday, and there were plenty of us also there in the audience. It was a very positive outcome for us, but they stood up there and with all the confidence in their hearts and provided their personal stories of their personal struggles with housing availability here in town. So I think it really helped persuade some of the people that may have been on the fence that day. So again, I want to commend our youth council and their leadership. Jessica took them there that day, and they were able to take their photo opportunity with our Board of Supervisors representative, Mr. Chris Lopez. So thank you to all of them, and I'm sorry they're not here to hear this, but maybe they'll see it in the minutes next time. This Thursday, August 20th, is our regular meeting of the Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority. It will be here in the council chambers beginning at 6 p.m. and the community is always welcome to attend. This Friday, the 21st, will be the Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority's employee annual dinner. That is for all the employees and all the board members, which I do serve as representative from the city of Gonzales. It's always a great event. They get their longevity awards that night. They get their safety awards that night. They interact with the board members. They're one big family. I think there's about 60 employees or so, and it's a great evening to spend with them, and they're very comfortable speaking with the board. You know, sometimes people get a little standoffish but we're just regular people, just like they are. So I'm looking forward to attending that. I will not, however, be able to attend the first football game of the Gonzales High School Spartans, which is this Friday. They will be playing Alisal here at Dick Force Stadium. So I believe the JVs begin at 5:30, and then 7 o'clock or so is for the varsity. So once a Spartan, always a Spartan. I hope to report this, or I hope the youth council will be here to report the future games. There is another game on the 28th as well here in Gonzales, and that's against Scotts Valley. So if you don't have anything to do on Friday night, go out and support our Spartans. I'm also happy to report that our adult aqua fitness is back on track this week and next week. They were able to repair something that was broken, and through a lot of, I think, groveling to the current manager and staff, we were able to have them open it up for a couple of weeks for us. At 5 o'clock, 5 to 6, it's been really fun to be able to do this this summer. The staff, Connie and her staff, they're amazing. They put us through the ringer. So by the time we leave, we go home, we're ready to go to sleep early. They really put us through our paces. And finally, Monterey County Fair is coming up, a couple weeks. Starts on September 2nd and runs through the 7th. The auction will be on the 5th. Please come out and support our young people who have projects, not just animal projects, but they have a lot of different projects. And it's really a lot of fun to go support these kids. So if nothing else, get out there and cheer them on, and hopefully to get some good dollars coming in at the auction. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Orozco.
Thank you. I'd like to echo Councilmember Silva's comments regarding our youth who attended the supervisors meetings. You know, we talk about these long-term projects that are coming into our communities, and some of our, some of our youth that were there talked about their own experiences, but these are our youth who will be moving on and going to college and coming back and hopefully would be able to buy one of these homes. I did get some flack from my granddaughter because I guess I said that she wasn't going to be moving in with grandma after she comes back from college. But anyway, it was good to see them there to voice their concerns. And my hope is that when this project is complete, that they will be able to come. And I know Jose has mentioned that before, that many of our kids go off to college and then they're ready to come back and work and want to live in our city, but there's just no housing. So again, thank you for them being able to do that. And I just want to also take this time to really thank staff for all that you do for the programming and all the services and rec programs that you provide to our residents and our youth. It's amazing the amount of programs that we are able to do sometimes on a very limited budget. So thank you. That's it.
I know some comments were made earlier today about applying for funds. I'm happy to say that we did apply. Our new public works director took care of that. And right now that it's on the consent agenda. So short of someone pulling it and not approving it, we're 90% sure that we're going to get those funding. And I compliment Mr. Hurtado for coming in and strapping it on and getting business done. So I sincerely appreciate that. And I too was very impressed with our youth. I had a good friend of mine who just retired who gave me a ride up there. She's like, "Who are these kids?" I says, "They're the youth." "They're in high school?" I go, "Yes, they're in high school." It's like, wow, they're better speakers than I'll ever hope to be. And I says, well, and they are. I'm very impressed with Orlando particularly. God, I almost felt like crying. He was so well-versed and made some excellent comments. And it is the youth that will be taking over this community, I hope, in the future. And if they are taking this type of action now, I can see a very positive future. I hope to be here for a little bit longer, but you never know. I was curious as how the painting of the curbs is happening. I'm hoping that that's a continual effort. I know I've heard from several people that are willing to offer their time and effort to paint curbs. So I don't know if staff's following up on that. The other comments that I heard via the email, I've heard those several times. There are a number of issues throughout the community that seem to just fall on deaf ears. Broken sidewalks where there's literally holes in it, so if you're not careful, you will twist and break an ankle. And I'm just talking from here to the Catholic Church. Plants in the walkways. Safe routes to school, we talk about it all the time, right? I see a whole mess of kids walking to Fairview and La Gloria. If you look, the chain link fence has got bushes that are literally coming over and blocking the sidewalk. It's right on top of the slough. So I am assuming that because it's the slough, that should be fall on someone within Public Works to go over there. Even if you just take a machete, I'm sure that would just clean off and clear that path so that we have a safe route to school. So if we could please take a look at that. The kids are back, and it's bad enough that they're pushing themselves back and forth, but then they go onto the dirt section because they can't get on the sidewalk because of this huge bush that's coming. And it's got lots of water there from the slough, I guess. I don't know. It's crazy plant. It's just really overgrown there. So if we could please take a look at that, I would sincerely appreciate it. So I'll get off of my soap opera and follow up with the city manager's report.
Actually, I'll let Mr. Hurtado chime in. I think he's got something to report regarding some of those comments.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, regarding your comments on the red curbs, as you know, we got a set-aside grant for $170-some thousand to put some traffic attenuation devices on certain streets. I think the original cost estimate was like 60 or 70,000, so we got an extra $100,000. And one of the reasons we got that extra $100,000 was to take care of our red curb daylighting law, where it's not going to be taken care of by the assessment districts. The subdivisions of the assessment districts will be slurry sealed, and part of the slurry seal is to restripe. And so in that restriping contract, when I do that, it's going to include making sure that all the red curbing in that subdivision is in place.
Fantastic.
Regarding the SLU, I echo your concerns on safe routes, and I'm even thinking that the trees should be trimmed so that you can walk and not have to duck underneath. But we are having Public Works go in and do basically this side of the fence on the SLU. There's more to be done. And we're also going to go on the other side of the fence and make sure that there's somewhat of a clearance between the road and larger growth so that it's fire prevention since
Great.
that's needed. So
Fantastic. Thank you. Any else?
The only thing that I have to report is the Relay for Life event is coming up September 19th. The city does have a team. That event's going to take place in downtown Salinas. So if you want to register and join the City of Gonzales team or just make a donation to the cause, please do so. The link is available. And then I'm going to announce the LAFCO meeting on the 24th. We will potentially be there speaking about one of the issues left on our application. And so meeting starts at 3:00. City staff and city attorney will be on to make sure that we are able to cover some of the questions from LAFCO commissioners. And just we're making good progress on the annexation application. So hope folks can join us or watch via Zoom and just follow along with the new developments that are taking place in the area of housing. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Would it be prudent for the council or many of the folks that can attend to be there? What's your?
I think, I mean, I'll let our community development director and Mr. Rodriguez chime in as well, but I think it would be good. The conversation or the item on the agenda is limited to a certain aspect of ag mitigation, but I don't put it aside that we won't have a kind of full-blown conversation on other items as they come up as well. There's going to be probably other questions the commissioners ask, and staff will be there to answer whatever we can. But I think it's always good to have testimonials, and I think as Council Member Silva stated, the testimonials are really what's going to help get this over the finish line. So I don't think it would hurt to have folks there and just.
And that's August 24th.
Agenda starts at 3:00. We don't know what time the item will be on. I have requested for it to be later so kids could join us.
Okay.
But I
And
don't know.
that's at the supervisor's chamber.
It is at the
Okay.
county chambers.
How to get there?
If I could just paraphrase, I think it'd be great to have a strong handful of people, about the same contingent that that we brought on the 11th. I think that would be a strong presence, and the variety of people who showed that day were really great. It's not quite the whole project consideration. It will come in a month or two later, and that's when we'll call out our 400 strong interest in housing list to come to the chamber. And that's a lot of faces that need a lot of houses.
Great, great. All right, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's also a good idea to encourage people to get on that list, the list that we have already, just so that they can be informed about what the next steps are.
Mhm. Good idea. All right, we're gonna adjourn the regular agenda and move into a closed session. Anyone wishing to speak on this item may do so at this time. Michael, would you please let our guests know what our closed session item is, please?
Sure. So we have one closed session item. It's the city council will recess the closed session pursuant to government code section 54956.9 to confer with its attorney regarding pending litigation which has been initiated formally, in which the city is a party, and that litigation is titled the Rand versus City of Gonzales.
All right. Well, that's it. Thank you, and have a very good evening. Have a safe drive home if you're driving out of Gonzales. Why? I wouldn't know, but